Hello everyone, I'm Senior Airman Batalico and I'm going to be starting off presenting Group 4's problem solving performance task. So our problem that we chose is the physical training test failures and how it then affects the retention rates. So I'm going to explain each of our problem solving processes and then I'm going to combine them all into the new process we chose to overcome this problem. So I'm going to start off with Senior Airman Godoy. His first step was to define the problem. His second step was to then generate alternative solutions and then evaluate and select an alternative. And then his fourth step was to implement and follow up on the solution. Brown chose the Kipling method. It highlights 6 important questions that you can ask next time you need to overcome a challenge. The 6 questions were: what is the problem? Why is the problem important? When did the problem arise and when does it need to be solved? How did the problem happen? Where did the problem occur? And who does the problem affect? Senior Airman Vollinger and myself chose the same thinking module, which is the Herson's productive thinking module. It consists of 3 questions and 6 steps. So the first question is what's going on? We're going to define the problem and its impact. The second question is what is its success? We're going to define the solution, and then we are going to ask what is the question and generate questions. Then we're going to generate answers for the solution, evaluate ideas with potential, and then align resources to then execute the solution. Our combined new process would be a 4-step process, which would consist of understanding the problem, to make a plan, and then to make a plan to solve the problem, then carry out the plan, and then go back and reevaluate, ensuring that the plan is working the way it should be to solve the issue. That concludes my part of the performance task. Now for Senior Airman Vollinger for our process of solving our problem.
Thank you for the introduction, Senior Airman Metallico. I am Senior Airman Vollinger, and I'll be talking about the problem-solving process that we've created. We broke down our process into the 4 main points that each of the previously researched processes contained. The first part of this process is to understand the problem. This first step is to identify the problem at hand and the various aspects of it, to include when did it start, is it time sensitive, and the impact the issue has. The second step of the process is to make the plan. This is to define what a good end result would look like and to create a list of questions that, when answered, will give solutions to different aspects of the problem, and then use those answers to create a step-by-step plan to correct the overall problem. The third step is to carry out the plan, to put the plan into action by using the people and resources around you to lead the way and implement the changes necessary for the plan to work. The fourth and final step is to reevaluate the plan. This is the part of the process where you look at how the plan is working and are there any parts of the plan that have failed or have not been implemented properly, as well as does the plan create more issues for the people who have to follow the changes being made. Once that information has been gathered, you can go back and rework those problem areas that you found, or you can make an entirely new plan starting from the first step. That's a brief overview of the 4 points of our problem-solving process, and now Senior Airman Godoy will take over to talk about our problem. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Senior Airman Godoy, and today I'll be discussing on how failing a physical training test can affect the Air Force retention. Before I start talking about impact of Air Force retention, I'll discuss on what the Air Force PT test consists of. It consists of 1-minute push-ups, 1-minute sit-ups, a 1.5-mile run, and a body fat measurement, which was discontinued. Scores were calculated by age and gender. So now how does failing an Air Force PT test affect retention? It can affect it in 2 ways, either negative or positive. The negative is if a person or a airman failed a PT test, they will either be discharged or do paperwork or not demoted. If they don't get discharged, they will either just get out, which will lower the retention rate. On the positive side, the Air Force has adapted to these PT failures throughout the years, where they are revamping the PT test for in hopes of a higher passing rate and a higher retention rate. So an example of a negative side is back in November 14, 2012, a study was shown on the Air Force discharge for PT failures. The article showed that there was an increase in 2007, which was 156 to 1,319 in 2012. The Air Force required commanders to make discharge and retention recommendations based on if they were continuous 4 PT failures in the last 24 months. And then an example of positive is in June 28, 2021, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant Bass or Bass, announced that the Air Force has revamped the PT test, which gave airmen more alternatives to what the PT test already consists of, in hopes of a higher passing rate. So this concludes my portion of the presentation. Now Senior Airman Brown will talk about how to solve this problem with retention and PT failures.
Thank you, Senior Airman Godoy. My name is Senior Airman Brown, and I will be utilizing the 4 steps of our new process: understanding the problem, devising a plan, carrying out that plan, and then reflecting on the outcome. In the first step, we have to understand the problem of failing a PT test and the consequences that will result. The first failure will result in corrective action, such as an LOC. If the airman does not address those issues on his or her own, it can lead to more failures. After the third failed attempt, it is likely to result in a discharge, thus causing force reduction. After that, we create a plan. We have 6 months to prepare our next test, and if we use our time wisely, this plan will be a recipe for success. Working out on a more regular basis and being conscious of what we eat is very important so that we are more prepared to pass the test. Tracking our macros and working out to the test requirements is a good start. Putting our mind to making this goal will cause us not only to pass, but put us on the right track to take better care of ourselves in the future. We're going to carry out this plan by working out regularly. Taking mock PT tests is a very good way to gauge our readiness and where you can improve. As a result of working hard, being consistent, and continuously striving to be better, we will be able to pass our PT test. Finally, and our final step, is looking back. And as we look back on our problem solving, we see that we carried out our plan properly, which resulted in not failing our next PT test, and thusly mitigating force reduction. Passing our PT test is vital for retention. The initial numbers suggest that up to 1/5 or 6,000 out of the 30,000 airmen who have taken the PT test after the COVID restrictions have been lessened, they have failed. Physical fitness is not only important to the Air Force, but it also is directly tied to our health. We will be better airmen and better leaders by improving ourselves. Thank you for your time, and have a good one.